Welcome to our wonderful guests from all over the world. We are so grateful to be together today, and you are going to be so amazingly rewarded because one of our greatest heroes and dearest friends is with us today, Susan Easton Black. We'll be introducing her in a minute. I say we because usually my wife's with me, but today she's doing a big youth conference and she will not be with us. So we'll miss the voice of an angel, but she wishes she could be here and wants for sure Sister Black to know how much we love her, and how grateful we are for this wonderful experience. While you're watching, if you want to make a comment and tell us where you're watching from so that we can respond to you, we would love you to do that. And we'd also mention that today happens to be one of the final days of the family church history tour for High Five Live. And they are so excited that they get a chance to be a part of Sister Black's broadcast as part of their wonderful experience. So thanks to all of you that are viewing and all of you that are on. Let's give you a brief introduction. I should have checked this all with her beforehand. Sorry, Susan. This remarkable woman went through a lot of interesting challenges in life. And when she became a single mom with these little darling kids, became so dedicated and concentrated to say, I'm going to take care of them and move my life forward. Finished a PhD, became a full professor in educational psychology, I believe, at BYU. Is that right? And after being a full professor, was invited to be in the religion department, which meant she would have to give up the full professorship and kind of start over. But she's never been afraid to do that. And now she's the most published author I know. All those books behind her head are almost all her own. Hundreds of wonderful volumes and so much beautiful insight and a life and a legacy of deep service. And we are so, so grateful. Not anyone I can imagine that would be better to come and talk about the life and legacy of Joseph Smith, because she has studied and lived and cared about that forever. So thank you so much, Susan. Is that enough of an introduction? Should I go on and tell all the wonderful things about the
That's great. Thank you. I'm embarrassed.
So, also widely lectured all over the world. Today we'd like to talk about, because it happens to be the 25th of June, and in 2 days we will commemorate the martyrdom. We'd like to talk about the life and legacy of Joseph. You and I were talking before about his life of sacrifice and how from the time he was very, very young and that first vision happened, he was treated poorly and sacrificed so much. Do you want to say a word about that?
Sure. Well, I'm sure that your listeners, like me, love the legacy that Joseph Smith has left for us. And there's no question it's a legacy of sacrifice. From his first youthful cry in the Palmyra woods to his manly cry in Carthage as he's giving his life for his testimony of the Book of Mormon and the Doctrine and Covenants. I mean, Joseph's the man. And for me, looking at his sacrifice, whether we talk about what went on in Palmyra and men of high standing taking note of this young youth and making disparaging comments, or tar and feathering there in Hiram, Ohio, or being placed in Liberty Jail, and before that, Independence and Richmond Jail, and then ultimately giving his life in Carthage. I just think Joseph is amazing. Well, obviously. And I have spent a lifetime studying his life, his teachings. I can't name every blade of grass he's stepped on, but I've sure tried. So that's where it's at. You can see behind me, I've got books where I wrote 50 volumes to identify every person that had entered baptismal waters during the days of Joseph Smith, everyone that had property during Joseph's time, everyone that did baptisms for the dead in the various rivers. And so I've spent a lifetime trying to learn about this great prophet, and I've not been disappointed.
They have set such a pattern for us. I even thought about that night when Emma jumped on her horse and rode out to warn Joseph about the people coming to try to find the plate. And there she was expecting, and I've often thought that that could have created the issue that brought their first little child to death, and that maybe the first martyr in the whole gospel in this dispensation was a little baby who gave his life for the coming of the Book of Mormon. And their whole life was like that. It was just such an example.
Yeah, example. I can remember for me, as I grew up in Long Beach, California, my grandmother lived with me. And her job was to make sure I went to sleep, and never being good at that. Still not now. I wanted her to tell me Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella. And she would say, Susan, I can only tell you things that are true. And so she'd tell me stories of Joseph. And I know that people have superheroes they like best now, and they exchange various cards in video games. But I never found a hero other than Christ that I just thought was more magnificent than the prophet Joseph. So it started as a kid, and I've never gotten over it. Isn't that a blessing? Some people grow up and they grow right out of the church, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Don't you know where truth lies?
Yeah. The legacy he left, we could talk about for weeks, of course. But you want to say any words about all of that? Because he left the most indelible legacy in my life.
Okay, it's the same for me. I mean, do you realize that families can be together forever? And Revelation to the prophet Joseph. And as I've gotten older, I know I don't look at Scott, but as I've gotten older, to think, oh, well, I get to be with my mom and dad and loved ones. I mean, what an incredible thing he's done for me. And then I can turn around and help gather Israel on both sides of the veil. I'm so impressed that you and your beautiful wife are doing this kind of program to reach out and in your way gather Israel, and for others of us it's different ways. And so thrilled that temples are being open. We can again do work for our kindred dead. What a blessing. And that's what Joseph Smith did on that. I mean, because of Joseph, we know who God the Father is and Jesus Christ is. I mean, because of knowing more about Joseph, I've been able to learn more about Christ and the covenant path, which way I should choose.
Yeah, it's amazing. So in the midst of all your studies, let's talk about this last week of his life. Do you want to walk us through some of those experiences and help us prepare to commemorate this moment?
Okay, so the martyrdom. Everything, it's the hinge point. Everything builds up to the martyrdom. If you're talking Joseph, it's the kind of like the last class in every semester is the martyrdom, and what does that mean to us? And I know that when I think of the martyrdom, I think of the song "Praise to the Man," and praise to the man who communed with Jehovah. Millions shall know brother Joseph again, and I feel so incredibly grateful that I can be one of those millions. But if we were to look then at the last days of the martyrdom, we know that Joseph Smith, he's the mayor of Nauvoo. He's running for president of these United States. Do you know that he is assassinated while running for president, and the next man that was running for president, a viable candidate to be assassinated, was one of the Kennedy brothers? And so you'd say, well, there's Joseph. He's got this amazing church. It's not just out there at Nauvoo with, small towns on either side of the Mississippi River, but he's got people in England, elsewhere. And when Joseph goes off to Carthage, the Carthage conspiracy, so difficult. I mean, you look, once you've got him in the jail on June 25th, and then June 26th, and now we're to the 27th, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, jailer Stignall, he looks out the window, he sees that a mob is forming, and they're covering their faces with black paint. And if this were to occur in the South, we would be talking mobs and we would be talking white sheets, pillowcases. But in the North, always a sign of mobbing was they painted their faces black. And as this is happening, there were two visitors to see Joseph and Hiram at the jail at the time. And I think it's so interesting. It's John Taylor and Willard Richards, the two men who were not serving a type of political mission to push forward Joseph's candidacy for president of the United States. Joseph had asked both men to stay behind. Willard Richards was a private secretary to him, and John Taylor was our newspaper man in town, Times and Seasons, Nava Neighbor. And as these men now go up to the jail portion of that home, you'd see them there from about 1 to 5:15. And as they're in that jail, as the boisterous crowd outside, how do you get mobs to join together back then at that time period? And the crazy thing is mobs sing, just like we sing at church. But I've never heard them sing a mob song. And the song the mob was singing outside of that jail went to the tune of Little Hebrew Children. And the song goes, "Where now is the prophet Joseph? Where now is the prophet Joseph? Where now is the prophet Joseph?" And then they say, "Safe in Carthage jail." And it's followed by a riotous chorus. And as this is being sung, then we know that John Taylor is asked to sing "A Poor Wayfaring Man of Grief." Not just once, but twice, right? And then about 5:15, several men are now coming up the stairs. As they do so, you get John Taylor is shot. He eventually is rolling under the bed. You get Hiram Smith falls to the floor, Joseph saying, "My dear brother Hiram," and then Joseph going to the window. He's 38 and a half years old. He is shot, falls face down at an open well. And Willard Richards shot, but there'd been a prophecy that he would be among friends, and that balls, meaning bullets, would fly like hail, but none would pierce his clothing. And he then is shot through an earlobe. Well, the death of Joseph and Hiram, the sorrow that spread through the church, the sense of mourning was huge. I'm turning it back to you, Scott. Did I put you asleep?
Well, no, it was so huge.
I could do that for classes,
No, I'm just mourning what you just said and finding tears, fighting back the reality of what he gave and his sacrifice and all that meant. And at that time, the world thought that this would stop the work, that somehow if they could kill Joseph and Hiram too, that then this wonderful work would diminish and fizzle and go away.
I mean, newspaper reporters were saying, quote, "Mormonism is dead." And even some of these saints in Nauvoo felt that. And you get 18 different men rise up and say, "Joseph's dead, the Lord has chosen me." And you're like, really? Be wise, my son. Be wise.
And no unhallowed hands will stop this work.
Right.
And the incredible growth from there and the amazing miracle we see today came because Joseph and Emma sacrificed everything.
Yes, everything.
Everything. And we are so grateful for that. And would you like to tell us your feelings about Joseph? I know you have a little bit, but maybe in conclusion, you could tell us just after a lifetime of study.
Yeah, okay, Scott. So we live in a time when people are saying they have a lot of questions, and so they're leaving the church. And for me, I say, I found so many answers, I'm staying. And so, and where have those answers come from? Joseph Smith, Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, what I read in the Pearl of Great Price, because I get those, it opens up to me greater insights into the Old Testament, the New Testament. I know that I can pray and I can get answers to prayers. I know that if I'm faithful, I can be with my family forever. I mean, Scott, do you know how terrific that is? So I guess your job, Scott, is to keep me on that covenant path. I appreciate programs like this that say, come on, Susan, you know darn well that the blessings are in the center. And don't be blown out on the fringes as this stone rolls forth to fill the whole earth. Is going to flip me off. Cling to the rod, cling to the middle, cling to the scriptures, and we'll all have a chance. And Joseph has promised that the same sociality that we've had in this life, we can have in the next. And Scott, I just hope that we're sitting down and every youth is going to choose you, and all the old people are going to choose me, and won't that be fun? And I just hope we get to be teachers again, and that we can, in our own way, everybody, the general authorities have their spot to be able to tell about the gospel, and you and I have our own way in doing it. And I personally know from listening to you that how many youth you've gotten to choose to go on missions, marry in the temple, and to choose a happier life. And anyway, I'm very grateful to you, and what your influence has been amazing.
Oh, you're so kind. I just want to echo my personal witness that this magnificent truth that started in a grove and was manifest in the life of a true disciple who gave his all, and his wonderful wife who sacrificed by his side, has changed my life forever, and I know it to be true. And Susan, I am so thankful for your remarkable discipleship, and Angelle and I just love and appreciate you so much.
All right, don't be a stranger. You know where we live.
Okay.
Okay.
We leave that today in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please take a chance to share this, especially this weekend, and have a chance for people to think through the details of this remarkable experience and consider the question, how has the life of Joseph Smith changed your life? Thank you so much for viewing today.